Okay, welcome all participants. Welcome to our next panel discussion. And thank you so much for joining us today. We still have 3 sessions left. And this is an interesting panel discussion because we are going to talk about how to drive ROI by reaching and engaging your target audiences in brand safe, premium environments across at formats and devices. So we have speakers and panelists, and of course we have our moderator here in panel discussion. So I will show them on stage. Okay, so we have Pak Rengga as our moderator, Pak Rengga Adi Putranto, Head Performance Marketing Operations and Delivery, iProspect Indonesia. Halo Pak Rengga. Okay, and we have our speakers. Okay. All right, we have our speakers, Pak Fandi Prathama, Digital Marketing Manager, Zilingo, Indonesia, and then Pak Rendi Liu, Performance Marketing Manager, Landmark Group, Indonesia, and Mbak Venska Adelia, Brand Manager, Istyle.id, Indonesia. So I'm gonna pin up our speakers and our moderator. Okay, alright. Halo, apa kabar Bapak Ibu semuanya? How are you?
Baik.
Morning, all good.
Hi, all good. Thank you.
Hope you guys are all well as well.
All good ya. Oke, then kalau begitu Pak Rengga, the stage is yours, Pak.
Terima kasih, Melissa. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining in. I'm well aware it's near lunchtime already, so maybe you can grab your lunch while listening to the session. So yeah, I think let's start first. Let me introduce myself. I'm Rengga. I currently lead performance marketing operations and delivery at iProspect, part of Densu Indonesia. So I will be the moderator for this panel discussion today, and I have with me 3 amazing panelists. One hopefully will join in later. So I will let them introduce themselves. So I'll start from alphabetical order if it's okay. Maybe Fandi, you can go first. All right, thank you, Rengga, for the opportunity. Anyway, my name is Fandi Prathama. I'm currently working as the country marketing manager for Zilingo Indonesia. So I've been in marketing industry for around 10 years already. It's been quite some times, but I spent my professional career basically back in Bangkok, Thailand. So I've been actually doing much things when I was in Thailand. I've been actually in the some kind of industry from fashions and then online travel agencies, education technology as well, and also retail. So it's been very various industry that I've been actually working on. So pleasure to meet you guys here. Hopefully I can actually share my expertise, my knowledge as well here. Feel free to ask if you have any question later. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, Fandi. So over to you, Rendi.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so as you know, my name is Fandi and I'm working at Landmark Group. I'm actually already working as a digital marketing for around more than 7 years. I'm also handling some e-commerce for beauty that maybe you already know for now, which is Sociola back then. So I also working at TikTok for a while, and also now I'm working at Landmark Group. So a bit information about Landmark Group. If any of you thinking that I may be coming from property background, no, it's not. It's not even property background at all. So it's actually a Landmark Retail Group. So we are working currently in Indonesia and having 2 brands in Indonesia. Most of our brands is at Dubai. So our headquarters actually in Dubai. So we are having right now 2 brands in Indonesia, which is Max Fashions and also Baby Shop. So maybe you have seen most of our stores in big malls in Indonesia, and we just arrived in Indonesia for around 4 years. And in 4 years, we already have more than 23 stores. So even during pandemic, we're growing so fast. So hopefully with this opportunity, we can share what our experience with you in terms of the retail as a retailer and also as e-commerce also from the e-commerce perspective. That's from my side. Over to you,
Yeah,
Venska.
interesting, Rendi. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The first time I heard landmark group, I thought it was also a property group. But
I'm used to it. I'm used to it.
thank you, Rendi. Thank you, Rendi. Over to you, Venska.
So, hello everyone. It is such an honor to get to meet everyone here. Everyone comes from such various backgrounds, tapi everyone in retail. So it'll be super interesting to see different aspects from different retails. I'm Venska. I started off my career in England, actually, in London. I started off in Dior and I moved to Balenciaga. And then I moved here to Charles and Keith and then Trans Fashion Group. And now I'm in iStyle as a brand manager for Marhenjay. Marhenjay sendiri and iStyle sendiri is considered quite a startup ya. We're still quite young. iStyle sendiri baru 4 tahun, Marhenjay sendiri baru dari tahun lalu 2021. And we are just really building the foundations, building it from the ground up to have more not only an online presence but also an offline presence gitu. Jadi untuk tahun ini kita baru buka toko Central Park sama Senayan City, and then we have a few more upcoming stores, about 2 to 3 or 4 stores again this year, and more than 5 next year. Jadi I think compared to all these big dogs here, I'm probably the most the youngest one here, and the one with the least experience, only maybe like 5 years. But it'll be so interesting to tukar pikiran sama all these big dogs right here.
Awesome. Thank you, Venska. I mean, that's definitely going to enrich our discussion today, right? Because you definitely have a different perspective on our topic today. Thank you for the introductions. So yeah, we'll be discussing on an interesting topic on how to drive ROI by reaching and engaging your target audience in a brand safe premium environment across formats and devices, right? Which is an interesting topic again with all these amazing panelists. But again, I think as a larger topic, right, is preparing brands for tomorrow. Maybe as our panelists could give some context to the audience on what's your brand's view on digital marketing, right? Is it something that is already an integral part of your marketing campaigns, or is this still something that is nice to have at the moment? Anyone could start.
Yeah, I can start actually at Rengga. Yeah, so basically, like it's very important that we need to actually understand like digital transformation is something that we need to actually face, right? So I mean, like even like throughout like the pandemic, we actually face, the challenges that like this offline people actually like do, right? I mean, like everything's like actually moved like from like conventional things like from like offline to online. So I think like we need to understand as well also that the penetrations of like the internet in Indonesia is also increasing like year by year. So like we can see like the active like users of the internet, especially like social media, right, is also like increasing. So I think like it's very interesting to actually see like this kind of phenomenon. So like that's why like now like people, even like the brands, even like Zilingo as well, like seeing this like an opportunity for us to actually like reach out like more audience, because at the end of the day it's less like effort as well to actually reach out like this audience, and we compare to like reaching out like these people like offline. But still we cannot just like think that like digital is the only way. I mean, like at the end of the day we need to actually combine like the offline, the online at the same time, because it's how the marketing works. Like because not everyone is actually like digital, and everyone is actually like also offline. But at the end of the day, like we need to actually start to actually understand that our business needs to be adjusted to like the phenomenons of like this digitalizations.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. How about you, Rendi? What's your view on that?
Yeah. Actually, our brand is pretty strong in the awareness kind of stuff. However, we need to also align with the traditional marketing, just like what mentioned before, what Fandi mentioned before. So that's true, because as a retailer, I've been been in retailer's side for like around maybe 4 to 5 years. So there is some people that also feel when they're having bags from Landmark or back from Uniqlo, let's say Zara, H&M, and the other stuff, they feel the pride. That's something that you can also ignore. They feel it. So they want to buy the clothes from the store and the other stuff. So in terms of the exposure, it's not only about social media. It's not only about awareness kind of stuff, but it's also the interaction. So in this part, what's our brand view is very clear that we want to reach more in the social media part, and we have to be in on it. But we can't deny that there is the traditional marketing is still works. Mouth to mouth marketing is still there. Affiliate marketing is still there. So it's not only about exposure to the social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. No, that's not only the only social media we have. We still have YouTube. We still have outside of Indonesia. We have Pinterest. Inside of we have Snapchat also. So there is a lot of stuff. Affiliate marketing also one of it, right? SMS blast. So there is a lot of stuff that we need to tap in. Even billboard is also still a good one if we are looking for another universe of social media, right? There is some people that didn't play social media at all. Even right now, people start to, okay, I'm out of the social media side, right? So we need to also understand the trends and see, oh, we can't fully put all of our investment into one basket, which is digital media. That's from my point.
Interesting. How about you, Venska?
I think I agree with both sides because these are similar but different points of views. Going digital is something inevitable, I think, for all brands, especially in the COVID situation, like 1 or 2 years ago. All the retails, especially, we were so dependent on having an offline store, and then suddenly, bam, cut, langsung semuanya, all the stores, all the malls tutup, and we had to literally putar otak. How can we still have sales? It's not even about ROI, it's about surviving at that time. How do we still have sales even when the malls are closed, all the shops are closed, we can't even do anything gitu kan? Um, Traditionally, when our sales go down before COVID, aduh sales go down, traffic in the mall so sepi gitu kan? Oh, we have to do a marketing. How can we do that when the mall is not even open gitu kan? We have to find our ways, and I mean, I think kita terpaksa dalam keadaan at that time. Everyone suddenly, even companies that has never sold online or by WA before, suddenly bam, langsung all the SPG and everyone keep on selling online, even when they didn't even have a platform to of payment online. Langsung everyone is shifting, and then you can sell by transfer. All the QRIS, everyone yang belum pernah pakai QRIS waktu itu tiba-tiba langsung bisa, terpaksa oleh keadaan. So I think going digital, it's not really our choice, especially 2 years ago. It was something that we had to do to survive. It's not even return on investment. It's like how to not die at that time. And I think it's very interesting because I also have a point of view from luxury brands. And before the pandemic, I think in a way we had less faith in digital or social media because everyone will, for example, you would not invest 50 million in a bag where you cannot even see it in person. This is I think a good example. Like you would not buy a house without seeing it, almost something like that. So I think with all this digitalization, there's still a good boomerang effect that needs to happen. Like they need to see it in store and maybe then buy it online. I mean, this is a new customer journey that brands have to really consider in this new age. And I think it's a mix of both of that that can create a very effective plan for all the brands. A mix of online and offline.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean that's definitely during the pandemic. There's um, shift needs to happen, right? Because sometimes it's forced upon us for some
Mm.
instances, right? But again, touching on that topic, right? meaning that there's also a shift in people's behavior, right, and also your consumers. So what is your approach in reaching those, your audiences, your consumers, that that the shift happens currently during the pandemic? I don't know, maybe we could start with Rendi.
Okay, maybe I can start. So during the pandemic, because our main as a retailer, we having a lot of malls, right? We're having a lot of stores in the malls, and most of the malls is closed, right? And maybe not closed also, but nobody is going to the mall, even if the mall is open, right? Nobody is going to the mall to get outdoor, do outdoor activities at all. So what we are doing at the time, we find out the solution for the short-term solution, we trying to transfer into the e-commerce side. I'm talking about website, our own official website, and also the marketplace itself. This is something that help us to survive, just like what Vanessa mentioned. We also need to survive at the end because nobody going to the malls, that means nobody going to your stores at all, right? And they can touch your products, they can see your product, they can feel your product. Then we need to emphasize them, encourage them to buy our product online. And I think we also agree that during these times we also seen that there is a lot of bad news that we are here about. When we're buying something online, we didn't receive it just like what we seen it. We seen it like, oh, I'm buying polka dot clothes, but when we receive it, the polka dot is not like what show in the product images. So that's also the one of the challenges. That's why we still our core businesses. Thankfully, during this pandemic, it's starting slowing down and store traffic is going increase. We usually call it as a footfall traffic. So people that coming to our offline stores keep increasing, and hopefully it can help us. But back then, we transfer everything to the marketplace because we understand that at that time, our online official website is not that strong. We need to build it. We need to track everything, right? But in that time, the marketplace has that capabilities. So for the short-term solution, what we're doing, we are targeting for the ROI through the marketplace. And that's what we are doing, having some enabler and the other stuff. So it helps us to growing at least at the stage right now.
Interesting. So you're saying that essentially in reaching to your target audience is developing your own media so that they have the medium to have access to your products, right? Because there's no longer people are not going to the malls and everything, right?
Yeah, we still need to open our sales, right? At the end,
Yep.
people still need to be paid. So okay, we transfer, we switch our stock that usually allocated in the stores, change it into the warehouse, and we can put it on the marketplace. So that's um, the things that we're doing to survive at the end.
I see. I see. Okay. But how's it coping so far? I mean, in terms of like switching from offline to online at the moment, is it are you generating enough sales now as people are growing more and more into the digital space, or is it still just a helping hand for the offline part?
At first, the e-commerce part is only like for the marketplace and the official website. It's only a backup to survive, right? But for now, it's not again a backup because after we see the sales is also chasing each other
I see.
between the offline sales and then the online sales. So if we compare between the offline sales and the online sales, it keep chasing in terms of the contribution sales contribution. It's keep chasing each other. But still, for now, offline sales is still our core businesses. So we will keep make it stronger and stronger for the core businesses itself.
Okay, okay, got it. How about you, Fandi? What about from your perspective?
Yeah, I think like what I can see that like this pandemic actually give us like a silver lining. Like it's an opportunity actually like for the businesses to actually like kind of like a transform, just like what I said earlier, that transform from like what they do like normally like in a conventional way, like everything's like offline, like, even like in the retail as well. But I think like what I can actually say that like even like at Zilingo, right? I mean like this is something that we can actually like assure to our like customers, because Zilingo is basically like at the B2B platforms, right? So we are actually like like offering our services to like the business players, and some of them they actually like did things like mostly like very conventional. They search everything's like offline normally. So this is actually our opportunity to kind of like grab these people, right? Because we can engage with them, we can actually like, convince them that actually like doing online it's not as like what they expected. It's not as scary as they expected, because like normally like the business people, the basket size is really big, right? It's huge. I mean like we cannot say just like $100 or $200. It could be like 1,000 or even like a 10,000s like a US dollars per like a basket, right? But I mean like per transaction. So I think like this is it's a good thing that like actually like business people try to actually like realize that like digitalizations is something that they need to be put on their like bucket list every time they want to do like not just like for the marketing activity, but also like the commercial part as well. Because at the end of the day, just like Randy mentioned, that we are actually need to actually get like revenue, right? We need to pay the people. So I think like we need to adjust like our business to like what relevant like currently. So I think that's my 5 cents.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. Venska, I think Venska is having
Yeah.
a camera problem, but can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys perfectly. It's just my camera. I knew something happened and I just turned off.
Um, that's the digital landscape for you, right?
I know, just talking about it now.
So, what
But
about your opinion on this topic?
I completely agree with Fandi and Rendi. I think going digital has its silver linings, definitely. What we see in the companies that I've been in, going digital opened up a lot of doors and opened up the market a lot more to the market that we've never even reached before during offline. And what we see now with the stores opening up and the traffic of the malls coming back, I think the offline is growing, bisa dibilang going back to normal. But in terms of online, in my point of view, in my company, it's still going stable. Jadi it's no longer about the offline being less and then the online dominating. But now the online is still just going as a different channel and the offline going back to normal. Jadi now kalau misalkan if you are basing our company in offline, ya just online is just extra gitu loh, extra growth aja from our side, which I think is very interesting. It shows that our market, online and offline, to different people, completely different people. It doesn't mean that if we are growing in the online, the offline turun or vice versa. It just means that we are reaching out and tapping into different types of customers, which is very interesting. And also, it's something that we couldn't do before if we just did one channel gitu kan. So I think it's gonna be very very interesting with digitalization because we are tapping into more and more people. Like I don't know, with all this digitalization going and omni-channel, and I mean nanti ada bisa jualan lewat video commerce or bisa jualan lewat social media. I mean the channels are limitless gitu. I mean this is just going to be all good news for the brands. That's what I think.
Okay, so yeah, I think those are all, essentially all the perspectives in terms of like shifting the business from offline to online, essentially, right? I think maybe, Randy just touched the point that he's the own media website is something that is essential. But if we're talking about like digital marketing as reaching your audience, right? Specifically that portion of the question, how do you from all of your businesses, how through digital marketing, how do you reach those target audience? What are the channels that you're using?
So actually, in terms of the channels, maybe I can say we're trying a lot of ways. We're trying on the Instagram side, we're trying on the YouTube side, we're trying on the LinkedIn side to get the professionals, we're trying also on the TikTok side, but not everything can be managed at one time. So we need to, from my side, we decided to, okay, let's focus on Instagram. Let's prioritize on Instagram. That's what we're trying to do. So, but I think I want to talk more about the how is the best practice, because I think all of you guys have seen it a lot and read it a lot, that there's a lot of best practice to do it. But my point here is just always think that we are always, before we are creating a content or creating marketing things, need to ensure that we have two sides of coins in our head. What is it? It's we need to be at the brand side, which is our brand itself, and the customer side. We need to look at the customer perspective also. They are really looking at these topics. Are they really need this content or not? Because other than that, if we're doing that kind of mindset, it will help us to drive better content at the end. Because if we try to put, oh, let's just try to blast this, blast this, blast this, blast this, blast everything that we want from the brand side, maybe it's not something useful for the customer itself. So what I learned and advise is, let's try to put yourself in two sides of coin, which is understand the customer perspective also before doing the marketing content. So it will help us to create better content and better promotion at the end.
For all us here that are listening, could you like provide some examples on having those two sides of the perspective between the brand and the consumer? What is the use case that you've seen so far?
So when one of the things that we tried is, it's not tried, but after we seen during the pandemic, some stores closed, some stores unavailable. So they asking we usually in baby shop, we are having baby shop as expert so in case you have some questions, you can ask her, and then she can help you to guide you and give you advice which product is best for you. So usually they're asking for her number. They're asking for, so mommy's asking for her number. So when time's coming, they can just ask her, oh, I need this kind of stuff. I need feeding stuff. Can you recommend me something on a WhatsApp basis? Okay. And we learned that not only from one store, but it's also happening in other stores. So we find this pattern, and based on this pattern, we create some kind of click to shop in WhatsApp. So right now we are having like a bot system in our business account in WhatsApp, and then when people click on it, typing on it, it will be based on system, based on the bot itself, and it will help you to direct you. Which mall do you prefer? Oh, I want to, let's say, Pondok Indah Mall. Okay, then we will direct you to, we will help you to connect with the store staff in Pondok Indah Mall. So that's what we're trying to do. This is not only happen for baby shop, but also for Max itself. And the result is amazing. You can imagine, this is not something that I also, wow, I can't believe it's working, but it's very working, not only for this brand, but back then I was working at Mother Care also, and it's also working. It's Mother Care, it's also working, and now it's baby shop and Max is also working. Why? Because people, especially maybe we're talking about new parents, and then talking about elders, they want to be facilitated. Mereka maunya dilayani. Mereka maunya dilayani. Jadi we give them, and then they feel, oh, this is good, oh, this is, so this, the conversation will be more meaningful, and at the end they will buy the product. So that's one of the example that we tried.
I see.
So it's, maybe I can say it's part of omni-channel also, I think.
I see. And that started from Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you mentioned it.
Yeah, it's also on Instagram. It's also on Facebook also.
I see. Okay. Okay, we have Venska back now. But before going to Venska, Fandi, how about you?
Okay, I mean, like in my opinion, to determine like which digital channel that you need to use is basically we need to actually understand our persona first, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we need to actually see like this persona is, you can find this persona in which channel basically. So it's the same thing like when you actually want to go fishing, right? If you want to like like for example like fish like lily, for example, you're not gonna go to the sea, right? But you're gonna go to like the pond, right? So it's the same thing like when you want to actually catch like this kind of like persona. This persona means like the type of like the customer that you are having in your business, right? So like we cannot just mention that, okay, if I want to go to digital, meaning that I need to actually use all the digital channels. No, it's not the way actually. What you need to do actually to determine first like which persona that you're actually having, and after that you will know exactly like where to get them, where to find them, where to meet them. Because at the end of the day, like digital marketing is about like communications, right? You try to communicate with this customer, right? So you want to actually communicate to to deliver your brand values, to deliver your like products. So if you're using like channel that you cannot actually find the customers there, it will be such a waste. Because at the end of the day, like marketing has budgets, right? I mean, we cannot just waste our budget for like the channel that doesn't actually give us like return, or like we are talking about ROI here, right? So I think this is a really important thing to actually to do. Define the persona first, and then you're gonna know exactly which channel that you're going to use. Because at the end of the day, like it's going to be your main focus. Like okay, let's say like your customer is mostly like can be found in on Instagram or like Facebook, then use that like channels instead of like TikTok, or instead of like a Google search, or instead of like YouTube, for example. So it's really important to understand that first.
Mm. Interesting. So the main thing for you is understanding where your audience is essentially, right?
Exactly.
Before determining which channels you're going to use, just to be effective and efficient.
Correct.
Okay, okay. What about you, Venska? What's your perspective on that?
I think again, I really agree with Fandi and also agree with Rendi. From my point of view, because I've always been in quite a brand focused company, there are two ways. I mean, do you first want to target your customers, have a really defined target customer and target them directly, or you want to see it from like the brand's point of view? I mean, both is essential. You need to have a two-way communication with the customers. But if you're just looking at the target market, again, you go find what is your brand persona and where are the customers? Are they on Instagram? Are they on Facebook? For example, so I think in terms of mothers, maybe Facebook lebih kuat. I'm not sure, gitu. But maybe for my brands, which is a bit more younger, 20 something, yeah, maybe Instagram and TikTok, kayak gitu. Or you want to go what I'm doing right now, because it is such a young brand. We still need to define ourselves in terms of oh ini Marhenji udah di Indonesia loh. For example, this is a very different strategy than the big dogs, right? The big dogs, they don't even need to tell the people, oh we are in Indonesia, orang semua udah tahu gitu. So in terms of my own strategy that I'm implementing at the moment with Marhenje, we are still in the very early stages. Jadi we are still doing like Google Ads and stuff like this because we are still branding that oh ini kita tuh baru masuk Indonesia. You can find us here, you can shop online here, offline here. So we are still in a very early stage. But yeah, because we are in an early stage, we need a lot of data in terms of customer data. We need to know where our customers are. We need to redefine our first initial target customers are real customers, or do we have actually a different customer base that we different than what we thought at first, gitu kan? And
Mm.
also, even if we already found them, how do we communicate with them? Can we communicate the same way as other brands communicate? Can we just be a so-called copycat and do what other brands does, or we need to do something different, gitu?
Mm.
So for me, in this stage, I'm still a test and try and repeat, test and try and repeat to see what suits what is suitable for us. And I think yeah, we need a mixture of that. See, we need to keep up with the times by copycatting, or seeing what other people are doing. But we also need innovation, yeah, just to be different, to stand out, especially as a new brand. So I
Mm.
think it's a mixture of all different strategies. It's but all comes down to what kind of brand are you? I mean, in what stage of brand are you? Yeah, for big brands and small brands, I think there are completely different ways of approach.
I see. Okay, so I mean, you know, speaking for new brands, just like you mentioned, that you're currently on, and then you start, you're doing your testing, you're starting to do a lot of initiatives, um, how how do you drive the ROI? Are you thinking already about ROI, or and then is that something that you're already thinking? And then how what is your approach, and um, what return are you seeking, right? Because ROI might be different for each brands, right? So what do you think about that?
Exactly. I mean, ROI, I mean, it's return on investment, but what kind of investment? Investment can mean a lot of things for different companies. They have
Exactly.
different KPIs. They put in money, but they might be some expecting other than money. And in our stage at the moment, I think we are more expecting the
Mm,
exposure and equity in the market itself. Of course, we are a business. Yeah, pasti we need to break even at least, and not make a loss. But I think in our stage at the moment, exposure is definitely our top priority. Gitu.
I see. I got it. Okay, okay, that's very interesting, right? I think that's also a good insight for those that are listening in, for those that are just starting the business or is just starting to get into digital. Is something that an awareness or branding positioning is something that is also important in calculation towards ROI, right? So what about you, Fandi? What do you think of the ROI part?
Actually, I do agree with Venska that actually ROI cannot be only like something very tangible, or like it just we are talking about revenue, because revenue at the end of the day is something that, well, sure, the business wants to actually get, right. But like in marketing, like when you are actually talking about ROI, it's not just about like how much order that you actually get, right, how many actually like people that actually acquire, or like how many leads that you generated. So it's more than that. I mean, even like a brand awareness itself is something that can be measured as well as your part of like the ROI calculation as well. Because in marketing, we are not just like a commercial team. Like a commercial team is for sure, it's obvious that what they're looking for is actually to generate like money, like revenue, right? So but for marketing, it's more than that. We are actually like working on like not just about like generating the commercial values, but also the brand positioning as well. So I think like at the end of the day, it depends on like the objective of your business as well. Which one that you want to actually build first, especially for the new business, right? We cannot just actually like think about, okay, if I want to actually invest on digital marketing, then my target will be like directly to the revenue. It would be impossible. It's not going to be that way. It will take some time actually, because in the marketing, what you need to do is actually how you build like the awareness first. As long as you have like good positioning, definitely will be easier for you to get like this revenue, especially for the new business, because it's commonly happening though. I mean, like I've been talking with like these new business players, and then they always say that if I go to the digital marketing, then meaning that like whenever I spend, I will get something in return. No, it's not that way. I mean, it's not going to be that easy to just get like an order right away, like from every single ad that you're actually like set up, right? So just need to know as well like how strong is your brand, how strong is your like values that you're communicating to your customers. Then they're gonna know exactly later, they're going to get definitely like a revenue if already like have a good positioning. So I think like that's pretty much like important to kind of like highlight, like ROI is not just about like money value, but also something that you probably need to think about like for the long-term investment, which is like the branding itself.
Mm, interesting. And Renny, do you agree with Fandi's point?
100% agree. But I think it's not only for new businesses, even for business that already established, is they also keep chasing, because why? Because they don't know about how digital marketing works. Even though digital marketing is the huge topic right now, everybody can say, "Oh, I'm a digital marketing. I'm a digital marketing." But it's not about burning money. It's about spending it wisely. So that's the thing that we are trying to accomplish, right? At the end, which is it's gonna be the profit itself. But 100% agree with that, and I think I always face that issue with my direct manager or even with the owner itself. That's common, and I think that's $1 million questions for every one of us here.
Yeah,
Okay.
I completely agree with what Rendi said. It's not about just burning money. It's about spending it because you have to spend it, but spending it wisely, gitu. Especially the first strategy is really important. Yeah, I mean, I've been
Mhm.
in multiple companies before, and once you've established your brand in the market and you want to rebrand it, wow, it's gonna cost so much money and so much effort, and also belum tentu bisa because it's already embedded right in the
Mhm.
customer's mind. So I think it's it's about really doing it wisely in the first get go.
Mhm.
True.
Yep. So I think there's also a relation in terms of understanding also your audience, right? And I think
Mm-mm.
again from my perspective, it's driving ROI. Whatever the return is, it's a journey, right? Because definitely you need to start to understand your firstly your audience, and then as Randy also mentioned, determining the channels that we need to use. Then we strike them in where they're usually located, right? Whether that's Instagram, whether that's Facebook, or TikTok even, right? And I think that's, I completely agree with that statement. But
And
continue.
and and maybe Rengga, I would like to maybe emphasize everyone that also that there is two different things between branding and marketing. And I hope every one of us is already knew about it. But branding and marketing is two different things. So we can like expect everything to be, oh, this is a branding just in 1 month. No, that's not a branding. Branding is not stand for 1 month. It's marketing. Branding is long-term strategy, like Venska mentioned. It's a long-term rebranding and doing kind of stuff. It's long term and it generates ROI at the end because we're building the value. We're building the value of our brand. Just like you name it, like Apple, right? Even why people still looking for Apple for new iPhone, even though their iPhone still works fine. It's because of their value. So its branding is a long term one, and for me, marketing is the short term one. So we need to differentiate between both of it and not combine it into one terms.
Interesting. That's very interesting. So, and you mentioned there like branding and marketing, and maybe if I could also move it a bit to measuring everything, right? Um, then how do you measure it? How do you measure your branding activities and your marketing activities? I think um, you know aside from ROIs, right? I think like which metric do you usually look at, and in the journey of achieving that positive ROI?
Mhm. Okay. On my side, usually for the short term one, it will be on the ROAS,
Mm,
right? The ROAS and also the conversion rate. That's what usually I'm doing. So ROAS for the online side and then offline side, it will be the conversion rate because we tracking any of you that coming to our stores. So if you see in this in the say let's say Uniqlo, H&M, Max Fashion, and Baby Shop, you will see some gate before you coming to the store, right? It's actually counting, or maybe you in a manual. Some retailers still doing it manually. They're doing the checkout, so they counting you. So they counting the traffic. It usually we call it as a footfall traffic. So we count it and then we collect with the data of the how many products it sells, what transactions and the other stuff. So that help us also on the other side, right? To help us to see, oh, is our promotion is actually benefit the customer or not? This is about the marketing itself, right? Because on the marketing side, it's like a monthly promotion, or by a bundling promotion, that kind of stuff. That's a marketing one, the short-term one. So in this case, what I'm usually looking at is conversion rate and then the ROAS itself.
got it, got it. What about from your side, Fandi?
Yeah, I think like to me like branding is actually like still like under the same umbrella. It's like marketing. It's part of like marketing basically, but we just actually focus on a different thing. Like for branding itself, it's quite tricky to actually measure because like it's not like very tangible, just like like the revenue or like an order, because it's easy to actually to know exactly like the results, right? But for branding, there are a lot of ways to actually like to really understand like how strong is your brand positioning actually within the market itself. But the easiest way to actually know is actually how much like actually reach like that you actually get like for every time you actually do like this kind of like marketing or branding activity. Like you can actually see like from the like the impression, for examples, like the reach, like every time you actually post on a social media, for examples, right? But if you really want to know exactly how strong is your brand, is to actually do like the survey, because you need to really understand whether, okay, if I ask you, do you know Zilingo, right? Like if nobody actually knows Zilingo, meaning that like what you did is actually not that like big enough, right? So this is a thing like about the brand. It's very complicated. It's not like something that, okay, you can measure it easily. No, it's not. I mean, that there are a lot of ways to actually like measure like the branding itself. But like to measure like the conversion, or to measure like the order, like money values itself, it will be easier. So that's why like I think when you determine like your target later on, you need to exactly knows exactly what you want first, right? Because here we are talking about like ROI, right? So like we need to determine first exactly what you want to, the objective that you want to reach first, right? Especially for like the newcomers, like in business area, that you need to really understand first that like every time you actually spend, like just like what people said here, like wisely on your budget, it's actually a long-term investment. It's not a short time like investment, it's a very long-term investment every time, like what your marketing activity actually do actually. So that's like very important things to do, because we are not a direct sales, right? Marketing is not a direct sales. We're not knocking everyone's door like, hey, I have like this things that, do you want to buy this? No, it's not like that. We need to send the value, we need to deliver the values. That's a different thing. That's why I always consider that marketing is an art. It's not something that you can act. There is no right or wrong, because every business has its own way to describe like a to like a do like do the marketing itself. So if I do marketing like in Landmark, will be different actually what I did like in at Zilingo. It cannot be like implemented that way, because every business has its own uniqueness. So that's why like whatever you take like from these sessions, you need to bring back to your business. You need to identify, right, whether what we suggest here can be implemented or not. I think like this is a thing that I want to actually like give you like kind of like a suggestion. There is a term that you can actually see, which is ATM, right? Amati, tiru, and modifikasi. So every time you actually see like the brands do thing, it's not 100% going to be implemented, right? You need to actually adjust it with your brand itself, with your business, whether it could be adjusted or not, or you can actually do it like 100% directly or not. Then after that, you can actually like have a real concrete things like amati first, like you need observe, and then you can actually image it after that. And if it's already there, then you can actually then modify it, right? ATM, amati, tiru, modifikasi. That's actually the things that like the marketing people actually normally do. That's all.
Mhm. Then again coming back to the point of metrics, right? So how do you measure the ATM apa namanya perspective or approach?
Yeah, it depends on like the objective every time you actually do the marketings, right? I mean, let's say if you're, let's say, doing lead generations like advertisements, right? For sure your metric will be like how many leads that you generated every time you actually like set up the ad. It could be like from Facebook, like from Google ads or whatever like channel that you're using. But like your, if your objective is mostly about like awareness, then what you can see is actually mostly on like the impressions, like, or like probably the traffic that you actually gathered like from like each click, for example, like, of the Facebook ads, for example, right? So like it depends on like the campaign itself that you're actually running. So we cannot determine that like okay, like ROI or like metric should be like all based on like revenue. Yes, I agree that like at the end of the day we need to have like a revenue, but to go there, like there is a long process, right? It's a long process that, that like everyone is here agree that like marketing is actually a long-term investment. So it cannot be just like one night show. Like you set up like the ads today, you cannot guarantee, it cannot guarantee that you're going to get something tomorrow like in return. So So it's a long way process. That's why like you need to ensure that like you deliver a right values of your brand, because at the end of the day when you're doing marketing, you're actually delivering your brand values, right? You're trying to educate your potential market that like, oh, this is the brand, this is the values that we are having, this is the product that we are having. If you're actually relevant to like what we are offering, then you can actually try or experience our products or our brand.
Mm, I see. I see. Okay. Venska, you mentioned that as a new business, your definition of return is awareness and reach, right? What are the metrics you're looking at? Are you looking at impressions? The number of people that you've reached through your digital marketing activities, or what do you look at?
Yeah, I think especially for a new brand, I think all the data, all you can get is very important. Gitu. I mean, with the help of technology now, I mean, thankfully, yeah, I mean, there are ways to measure it. Gitu. Dari in terms of the ad reports, ada juga we have our own platform, we have our own app, and we have our own website. Juga ada apps and website report. I mean, we can see the before and after of the effects of marketing. Kan? I mean, this is what happened. This is the average numbers before we did the campaign, for example. We did. We can see the average traffic. We can see the average impression and engagement rate before we did the campaign. And then, for example, yeah, I mean, in the eyes of the management, pasti, oh yeah, we invest 50 juta, we have to get at least 100 gitu kan. It is not as easy as that. I mean, I hope it was as easy as that, but it's not gitu. But at least, I mean, if we can deliver more than just the numbers of sales, I mean, we can say, oh, but the average impression has increased by this X amount, the numbers of traffic has increased by X amount. And even with the help of maybe we've implemented some vouchers supaya trackingnya lebih gampang gitu kan. I mean, we can see the vouchers has been used X%. It means that people who came to the website to use the voucher, it shows a direct increase in CR juga kan. Gitu. I mean, there are thankfully with the technology that we have now, there are numerous ways that we can count, make the qualitative quantitative, gitu. But yeah, itu kembali lagi to each brand. I mean, what do they want, gitu? Is according to the management, is impression important? Because in their mind will impressions make sales, gitu kan? Yeah, I mean, again, it's an investment. It's not a one-time thing. I mean, for example, you make a very good content on TikTok. It went viral overnight. Impressions are a few millions. Would it guarantee sales the next day? Definitely not. Yeah. So I think it's all coming back to what the brands want in terms of strategy, long-term, short-term, and what the management wants as well. Because sometimes the management and the brand has different wants and needs. The management needs money, the brand needs exposure gitu kan. So it's about balancing that. And I mean, in terms of numbers, I think ya banyak lah sekarang ways of measuring ya. It's just, I mean, you can just connect the dots yourself, but it will definitely not be a direct dot.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective. I know just seeing that we only have 5 minutes or 6 minutes left, so maybe I'll go to my last question then. Again, speaking, we touched briefly about branding, and I think this is also one thing that is also important for branding is brand safety in doing digital marketing, right? This is one of the concerns. How do you all keep your brand's reputation safe when it comes to advertising online? Are you guys using technological methods in doing so, or how do you do it?
Okay, maybe let me answer first. So on my side, is actually we're already having some kind of key guidelines to follow from our headquarters in Dubai. So from our side, it's pretty. I'm not gonna say it's pretty easy, but it's a bit. Um, more easy lah for us because we already have the guideline from the principal itself. So from what we are doing, we just need to ensure that we don't need to mention this kind of stuff. We don't highlight this name, we don't use these terms and the other stuff. So that's what we're trying to do, and that's how we're gonna maintain it. In terms of the placement or the exposure, it can be anywhere, but we just need to maintain the communication from our side because we need to ensure that the communication is aligned with in our landmark group itself. We need to ensure the communication is same between all of the country.
I see.
So that's the idea. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do, and maintain the communication is along the way is same and follow the rules at the end.
Okay, so from your perspective, it's more towards the brand safety and the communication itself rather than the placement of the digital advertising. I see. What about you, Fandi?
Yeah, I do agree with like Rendi actually. Like before we decide to actually post something on social media or like whatever like online, we need to do like this like quality check, right? QC first on our contents, right? Because it's really important to ensure that like there is nothing that actually against like the regulations, right? I mean like within like our brand guidelines or like even like those are actually like regulated like externally, right? So I think like that's very important. And at the end of the day, like this is why I always do like actually like do the kind of like a content audit like on the regular basis to ensure that like we are actually still following like our like guidelines. So I think it will be helpful in terms of like to keep like we are still on the right track. So really really important that. So the case actually like on the content itself, because we already like actually like learn from like some brands that actually did like a quiet like lack of like this like QC, like it actually impacted bad on like their reputations at the end of the day.
I see. So Venska, do you have any different approach compared to Fandi and Rendi?
I think mine would be probably nearer to Rendi because we are both working with international brands that has their own guidelines. But what I can see internally in Indonesia, it's super important to keep your brand consistent throughout all the channels. Nah, this is where branding versus marketing is different gitu. You have to keep your brand consistent throughout all the marketing channels. For example, like you would have, I mean, sometimes as a brand manager, if you see another brand that has, for example, different fonts on different platforms, it will really trigger some brands really kan. I mean, berarti brand guidelines di sana kurang jelas and they're not following it really well, or it's not established as well as they would want it to be. So I think the number one thing to keep your brand's security is to have a really strong brand identity and stick to it and consistently throughout all the marketing channels gitu. It doesn't matter if it's online, offline, platformnya di Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. I mean, if you're gonna use one brand, and one to three types of fonts, keep your bands to that. I mean, keep it consistent. The type of colors you use. I mean, even the aesthetics. I think in terms of branding, aesthetics and brand feel and consistency is very important gitu kan. That's when I think marketing and branding differs. The marketing can be super out of the box creative and it could be a good impact gitu, but branding I think it's all about consistency.
I see. Okay, very interesting, and I think we're just about running out of time. So, if I could conclude in a way in terms of the topics that we just discussed today, and I think ROI is again it's a journey, right? Continuous journey in terms of what how brands should do their activities, how they should understand about their audience, where their audience is usually digitally, where the audience are usually consuming media, whether that's Instagram, whether that's TikTok, and maybe try to reach them, in that zone, right? And in terms of like delivering the ROI, again, it needs to be understandable from the brand's perspective that they need to know what the return of investment from their point of view, right? Whether that's revenue, and Fandi somehow doesn't agree about completely with revenue. It's not only about revenue, right? It's also about creating the value of your brand. That's also considered an ROI achievements. And in terms of like brand safety, then it comes back to the branding itself, how we need to be consistent so that our brand is viewed in a unified way in terms of whether that's in Instagram or whether that's in TikTok and things like that, right? So yeah, I think thank you for all our panelists today. It's been a very insightful discussion, and I think I'll hand it back to Melissa, our host.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Pak Rengga. Thank you, Pak Fandi. Thank you, Pak Rendi. And thank you, Venska, for delivering perspective, ideas, an interesting panel discussion for today. Stay healthy, everyone. Hope to see you again in another event. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
nice
you. Thank
lunch.
you.
Bye bye.
Nice.
Bye. Have a nice day. Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Okay. Okay, so all participants, that's all our panel discussion, and we have to move to our next session because we will have a presentation from Dian Martin, a chairperson of the Indonesian Digital Marketing Association. So see you there.